Una inyok tijuan tu saksu siya. Aksu. Eh. Good evening. Good evening, everyone. My time says 6:02. I would like to start. And my other calendar said 9:35 February 3. I'd like to welcome everyone to the City of Iqaluit Planning and Development Committee meeting of the whole number 5. Um, there's if there's no changes, I would like move and a seconder to adopt the agenda, please. Moved by Mayor Bell, seconded by Councillor Stevenson. Any questions or comments? If not, all those in favor, raise your hand. Thank you. Unanimous. So moving along, number 1, minutes. There's none. Number 2, declaration of interest, if anybody. I see there's no declaration of interest, so move to number 3, delegations. There's none. Number 4, deferred business and table items. There's none. And we'll get right down to business number 5, and the first being 5A, Lowell Base Beachfront. It's verbal and presented by Councillor Larity. Go ahead.
Nakomik Chair. Um, I asked for this to be on the agenda because there's just a steady concern by not only myself but other residents along the lower base beachfront. And um, I asked for information um, that was from previous councils um, on any work that has been done between the city and Kikatani Inuit Association, because as we know, where the shacks are, that's Inuit owned land. Um, and from my understanding, my south facing beachfront of my house, between my house and the lane, the beach lane, that's city property. And uh, there's numerous concerns. Um, one concern this summer, which happened last summer as well, the time that I was home in Iqaluit last summer, was the Tower Arctic big rock trucks. Um, um, I didn't have a speed gun, but they were speeding a lot, and I thank Mayor Bell for talking to Eric, I think of Tower Arctic, and I've seen a reduction in the the speeds of those trucks when they do go by. So that's good, but that's just one of the many issues of the beach area. Um, I took a up close and personal walk along the shacks from uh, on the way to the MTO, I think, area, just behind Ina Tikovics, all the way to the breakwater and back. And what I saw was really disheartening. Um, there's, even though we had the cleanup day in Iqaluit, there's just so much trash, so much litter. There's dumping of big big items that appear to look like snowmobiles that haven't functioned in years, tires, desks, beds, mattresses. There's also uh, trash that's hazardous, um, like fuel canisters, like naphtha canisters, and other fuel type items. That's very hazardous. Um, what we see also all too often is the practice of illegal public drinking. And when I say public drinking, I don't mean a casual glass of wine or two or even three. Um, their public drinking episodes, even last night in the rain. I saw three people at the end, close to the groves, um, at that end of the shacks, two men and a woman arguing, and my house isn't that close, but I heard them very easily, and that was after 11 o'clock at night. There's evidence that people are having fires and parties on the beach. That's also very dangerous because all those shacks are made with, I mean, they're very old shacks, and it wouldn't take much for any of them to catch on fire if from cinders blowing onto them. Um, there's, from what I understand, talking to neighbors, there's right now there's five homeless people living on the beach. But the rest are partiers, and uh, there's one shack where a bin was just full of beer cans and vodka bottles right at the door of the shack. There's also looks like a boat, one of the boats that's overturned. They have plywoods to shelter them from the weather elements. And when I looked inside, it looked like there was a fire that was made, which is very unsafe as well as evidence of beer cans, wine bottles, and the like. Um, and this is a really a big concern. I tried to find information myself on any work that's been done by previous city councils and Kikatani Inuit Association. I did so by going to our own website. There's a feature on the website of where you could search in the archives of previous meeting agendas and meeting minutes. I found that from the looks of it, not all agendas and minutes are populating our website. So that's unfortunate. I didn't find any. So the short answer is I didn't find any evidence, and I went back to the year 2016. Um, from else I understand is the, related to the incident I saw last night. You know, there's uh, violence. I could just go on and on. There's been suicides on the beach area in previous years. And this really concerns me because not only am I listening to the people living close to me, But also, I'm under the Nunavut land claims as well. So I have a vested interest in every which way you look at it in the beach area. I was jealous when I saw the Apex Beach. There were shots of children running into the water when it was sunshine. uh, um, and the children in our area, they don't want to go on the beach. There's more younger children living on my street, and in fact, some some children came into our house, and we baked all night, and these little children are telling me, Sheila, I don't want to go on the beach because it's full of drunks. And I'm like, oh my God, they know that word. um, and it's true, like we're empty nesters ourselves, but we have grandchildren. So the people who don't have children, little children in their homes, we have grandchildren that visit us, and we would just like to see a safe and clean beach area. And so I wanted to bring this uh, for discussion for the count for I guess the committee of the whole to discuss. Um, I mean, I can think of short term, medium term, long term. The short term, um, whether it's short, medium, or long, I see that why can't the city work with QIA on the beach area? I'm sure that the city works with QC with the new hotel on Inuit owned lands. So the city has engaged in Inuit owned lands within the municipal boundaries previously or currently. And so I don't see why we can't. Uh, um, Unfortunately, I don't have a solution of how to do that. But certainly, the short term goal would be to clean up the beach area. The medium term goal would be to enforce rules and enforcement. Um, it's not only unsettling to hear, verbal or physical violence or see physical violence happening. It's unsafe for those people what they're doing. Um, you know, and a long-term goal would be to redevelop the beach area um, and to beautify it. And I'm thinking not only of the homes on my street and the street adjacent to us, but also I'm thinking of the elders that have the apartments as well. They um, um, I think we would serve that area really well if we reached out to QIA and struck up um, I don't know, some kind of working group to really tackle this head on. Um, the last thing I will say is that I mentioned earlier that my between my house on the south side and the beach lane, from what I understand, is city property. There's a big also big junks um, on the city property. From what I see, and Councillor Alba can correct me, but I don't think those two or three really dilapidated trailers and that Polaris Skidoo, I don't think those are yours. I know when my husband was reversing his truck in the dark last August, that big junk caught his truck and dented it. Thankfully, that's the only damage that incurred. Instead of puncturing his tires it's just unsafe and unsightly, and I want to see us kind of make an effort with QIA to reclaim it and have a really beautiful beachfront. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Lardy. Um, I'm glad you are sounding better today compared to Saturday. I'm sure there's a lot of ideas and discussions on this notorious beach. It's an ongoing issue. Not only that, but all those old Peterheads as well has been discussed about. Um, with that, I'll ask the mayor if he can comment on this issue.
Sure. Thank you, Councillor Kumalik. Oops, sorry, my chair just went down. So right after the election, Amy and I met with PJ Akiaguk and the rest of his senior staff on a number of items, but of course the beach came up. There are some plans in place to move forward and clean it. They want to do a number of things that I don't really want to get into. So what I suggest is that we invite them to come to the planning committee so that they could be prepared to present a public item. I don't want to go. I don't want to tell anyone what they're planning to do without having them here to do it. The other thing that we want to point out, the city and QIA are working on a waterway cleanup in August, so that will happen again this year. Which I think last year there was multiple tons of garbage that were cleaned up off the beach. So that's going to happen again in August. Thirdly, I want to make it very clear that it's very important that if you see people drunk or drinking on the beachfront, that you call the RCMP. I know I've tried calling the RCMP many times about drunk people, and it's to say it nicely, it's not the easiest conversation that you have, because you have to call dispatch and you have to give all your information, and it's like, why do I have to tell you who I am? I just want you to come deal with this drunk person, right? But if people are allowed to continue to do it without anyone ever going there, that's why they continue to do it, because no one ever calls on them. And I know that in a neighborhood you get used to the problems, you get used to the yelling, and you just kind of, oh well, no big deal. But it is really important that we call the RCMP and tell them that the people are there. But there are plans. I think the easiest way to deal with it is to invite them to come present to us. But also our unsightly land bylaw. There's a place on the website for complaints. It can be anonymous. You don't have to put your name to it. It's right at the very bottom of the webpage. There's a complaints and compliments form. And you can just enter in the information there, and municipal enforcement will, every complaint is checked into, so municipal enforcement will go to the beach and take pictures and start doing that. Amy? Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. So when we do receive complaints about the beach, there's some kind of challenges there, given that it's not our land, but we always forward those over to the to QIA, and we're trying to work with them to try to, find out how we can, the authority that we have and the authority that they have, and how we can, figure this out a little bit better, because there are some areas that it's not clear for the city on what action we can take. So for example, last week we received a complaint about a trailer that's with partiers on the beach, and it's not used for a hunting shack. And the purpose of the beach and the shacks, it's to allow for hunting equipment and so on, and that's in the city's general plan. That's QA's mandate. So we're looking at that with QA right now. They're hoping to come to a resolution with the owner, because it seems that the issue they have there is that some other people are kind of taking advantage of somebody who owns that trailer, and she feels kind of that she's been taken advantage of there. And so the QA thought, the staff person that I spoke with said, actually we're going to try to work it out with the owner and see if we can help her first, and then if that doesn't work, we're going to talk about maybe bringing it to the city's compound. So we would need permission from QIA to go ahead and do that. And so that's how I guess we're trying to communicate to help deal with the issues. But there's a couple kind of legal aspects that we have to work out with them because it's their land. So we're just trying to figure out our authority and theirs, and go from there.
And sorry, the last thing I'll add is that we did make very clear that we want the beachfront to be a beautiful area that all of us can go down and enjoy. It's a shame that it's in the state that it has been in. It has been like that since I was a little kid. It's about time that we beautify that area and make it usable for everybody, and discourage drunk people from hanging out down there and causing the ruckus and starting fires in the shack. So we bring them here. We can reinforce that again and see what their actual plan is to fix it. Thank you.
Yeah, and just also, just in regards to fires, it's a big problem for the city. Fires on the beach. There's often some unsafe situations. Firefighters don't know what they're getting into. If there's fuel or other compressed gases in the shacks, and there are times where there's definitely a lot of fires on the beach, and it's a big problem. The QIA has actually asked us not to approve fire permits on their land, so we respect that. So if you do see a fire on the beach, that's going to be a fire that's not permitted, and we're respecting the wishes of QIA, of course, with that permit process.
Thank you, Amy and the mayor. I've been on this council for quite a while, and there's been discussions here and there about how to work it out. And I was adamant about one of the things was to suggest RCMP, foot patrol, and bike patrol, and that's been very hard for me anyway to exactly to tell them let's do it, because they have to go through regulations to get trained, and I tell them my 6-year-old rides a bike and they have to get trained and all that. So it's a big circle with trying to deal with RCMP just to ask for a foot patrol or bike patrol, skidoo or ATV. So they know there's a problem there. Also, when with our previous former mayor, there was a beautification committee set up to deal with to sort of clean up the Khalid, and I don't know where that has gone. So the council is aware of it. We've been trying to deal with it, but like the mayor said, we need to put a good plan together, I think, to start get the ball rolling. I have Solomon on next Atigo Okalawe.
Kuya na make sure ta kuya na make taman ni siuti ni tili yo kunga ta kununga nuna rai kunu pikirtani kunni katima yo kata amma katima yaktu ko katakumi wanto mi wala yo pikirtani kutita ngani niliuti kinya pakatana niliuti kinya katakuna lunang ito niliuti kinya pakatana kuya na
Good stuff. Anybody else? The premier.
Thank you, Councillor Kumalik. I'm wondering if, because my mom lives in the elders units, and obviously is witnessing a lot of these things happening. She's witnessing the garbage pile up. She's wondering, and has asked me a number of times why there isn't just even something as simple as trash bins available to people, because what we do see is that the people that are homeless living there, is that they are collecting their garbage, but it's piling up outside because they don't necessarily always have somewhere to throw it. And then so what often happens is her trash bin gets filled up with those smaller loose bags that then our city won't pick up. So I can tell you, I have personally a number of times had to like get into her trash bin and clear it out, and it's not a nice thing to do. And for the beach that like beyond the, Councillor Flaherty talked about going, like walking up to the breakwater. And I can tell you that from the breakwater and up along the Apex Trail, this year has been, I guess, with the really nice weather that we had, we always have people who come and party at the outcrop, that very last outcrop right by the graveyard, and it's everyone from young teens, probably when my older kids were teenagers, to adults, families, everybody. And I just last week picked up a bunch of empty 60s and a bunch of garbage. And every time I've gone on the Apex Trail this year as well, I've come back with one and sometimes two bags full of garbage from people who are partying along the Apex Trail. I witnessed a young woman being rescued by emergency services when she tumbled down from the outlook at the Apex Trail. There was a fire there. There have been a number of different fire pits. There's a lot of partying going on. I would say almost all the way to Apex, and so if I feel it's safe to do so, to interact with people and discourage them from partying along there, I will say, like, isn't there somewhere else you can go? And the truth is that there really is nowhere that people who don't have housing, there's really nowhere public where they can go and drink the alcohol that they buy. Whether they buy it legally or illegally, there's no safe consumption site that's monitored for safety. We know it's happening. There are programs in cities all over the world that provide those safer areas, which is more important when the weather causes more likelihood of somebody to perish or to become severely injured due to outdoor intoxication. So I think that there's the beautification issue, and there's also the issue of public intoxication and how do we approach that. And I think that we should think of innovative ways to not just curb it, but to make it safer when it's happening. So those are my thoughts. But I'll just go back to my first statement about whether or not it's just possible to create garbage collection sites for people to use that aren't necessarily those really hard to open and those bins that you don't really want to touch right now, right? You have to put your hand in and you have to push the lever and then you have to pull it up. And it's actually, I'm just under 5 feet tall, and it can be really difficult for me to, because now you're getting, like, it's right in your face. But so I wonder if there's a way to, approach either QIA and make some sort of a deal with them so that there are just the regular, plywood garbage bins that are easier for people to access, and then perhaps an understanding with, if our crew is picking it up, for them to are they willing to and able to make that extra effort of clearing out a bin that's filled with loose garbage. Thank you.
Amy, would you like to do a follow-up?
Sure, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. So QIA has discussed the placement of garbage bins on their beach area, as well as some signage on key entry and exit points. So we started those discussions last year, and I think they're probably just finalizing that, but we can let them speak to that. In addition, the city is procuring large garbage bins that will be strategically placed in some trouble areas and areas where people are coming back to town. So the idea would be areas where people are camping. Maybe so we've got some areas identified that we could discuss, or we could even, it's not finalized exactly the locations right now, but some of the areas discussed include the area near the golf course, the Causeway fishing area, the beach areas, Apex at the Rotary Park, and a couple of other kind of key areas where we notice there's a lot of issues. And as far as we have heard the complaint that some of the garbage bins are too tall and difficult for people who are shorter or people who are, children and so on to actually open them. And that's a real concern. The reason that those bins were selected is because they're wildlife proof, and especially out near the river and so on, it's important to us that we have those types of bins. But we've discussed actually providing a step up as a very simple solution to be able to access the bin, because if you order bins that are smaller, they don't hold the same capacity. So that's one solution. Another solution is a different model. So we're looking at that too. And then as far as needing to have actual garbage bags, instead of having to have someone clean out a wood bag, if we have the garbage bins with heavy duty garbage bags in them, then the staff can collect those easily, and there are styles for that, of garbage bins for that. So the design of the bin's important, and the placement of the design is important. And then we're looking at also starting next year a really active anti-littering campaign. And what we'd like to see also is messaging. If you carry it out, carry it in, right? If you can carry something out to have a bonfire or a picnic, then bring it back with you and put it in the garbage bins, because there's a lot of issues at the cabins in the camps near the Causeway fishing area, and some residents are cleaning up after everyone, and we're receiving some concerns about that. A lot of people, though, do respect the land, and they do bring back their garbage to town and dispose of it properly. That's just some of the things that we're hearing, and that's some of our plans. So we are procuring those bins actually right now. So that's actually out for a quotation right now. And Recreation will be managing those and collecting the garbage from those garbage bins.
Thank you, Amy. I realize we can go on and on and on with this one, but I think I'm hearing good suggestions. I have Councillor Shepherd, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd love to see the city work with QIA cooperatively on the beachfront. There's no question there, and it seems like work is being done in that direction. My one concern initially is that it doesn't seem like QIA or the city have a firm grasp on their roles, rights, responsibilities, and authorities when it comes to managing this. And I don't want to see lawyers this turning into something crazy, but it'd be nice to have cooperatively work with QIA to clarify what everybody's role is in this, and to use that kind of as a foundation document to work together on a partnership cooperatively to manage these issues within town. It's just all too common that the city's not sure if we can enforce something, and I don't know if at times QIA is sure of their responsibilities either. I think that needs to be the first step in co-managing, maybe not co-managing, but at least working together cooperatively on this issue going forward.
Thank you, Kyle. I know that governments and Inuit organizations like MOUs, maybe we can do. Moving forward, I think Solomon's having a meeting on Thursday. He can present something. Well, he knows the beach. He's hearing from us what the concerns are, and especially from you. And the mayor has indicated maybe moving forward we can invite the representatives from QIA to come to a meeting of some sort and start drawing a plan with them. That's what I'm understanding from this group. Are there any other comments, Councillor Flaherty?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just to so it's not lost in everything that I talked about, the land, and Councillor Awa can confirm because he has a sea can and a boat on city property. I think it's city property where your boat and sea can is. But there's abandoned. They're not vehicles per se, but they're trailers. Looks like dilapidated, rusted out trailers that's on city property. Can we do anything about removing the abandoned, what it looks like junk? There's a machine that doesn't look like it's been running in years. So I wonder if there's anything that can be done because that is on city property.
Okay. CEO?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So last year we worked with QIA and some other folks from HTA, and they helped us by going around and asking people who needed their old equipment to try to clear out the beach, old equipment during our cleanup day, to sign and agree to it and take a photo. Because sometimes when the city takes away large items, that might be something that means something to someone. It's their property, and so the city doesn't like taking away people's property. They might need it for parts or what have you, and then they end up coming back to us and are very upset with us, of course. So we do have a waiver form that we can use to ask people, to the owners of the equipment, to sign that over to the city, and we attach a photo with it. And so we had assistance from Adamit Torchiak specifically last year, and he would also label those things and provide us with the information, because it's pretty important to the city that we don't take items away from people that they may want to keep.
Thank you, Amy. I know in the past, when we were cleaning up the town with old vehicles, our enforcement people were going around to the owners, marking big X with spray paint after they spoke with the owners on the property to get them to the dump, and that I think that worked out very well one time. That's something I think Solomon can present as well. So in terms of moving forward, can we ask the mayor to invite the KYA president or whoever to the next meeting? Is that agreeable? And Solomon will present some cases or ask them also to come to our meeting, and let them know what we discussed tonight. And I think if you want more information, you can talk to Mayor Bell and or Councilor Flaherty. Go ahead, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Kulik. We will invite them. One problem is that during COVID, we can't have anyone in here. But of course, we can still be presented to by the phone and have a document ready. But I'll reach out to PJ and see if we can't meet on the side and just share these concerns, and also invite them here at the same time. But I'm not sure during COVID. I don't know what their office is doing for closures and stuff either. But this week coming up, I'll reach out to them and start the conversation again, knowing that we only have a short period for summer to make anything happen. So I'll do that this week.
Okay, I think pretty much pretty well everybody's satisfied with the plan. So moving along to next agenda item, and 5B is request for decision, land use permit number 20001, portion of lot 1, plan 3604, Plato, Anegayakski and Adventure Club, building number 5001, and it will be presented by Jennifer Jarvis, Development Officer. And at the last meeting, we had a discussion on that. I think Jennifer is ready to present, and welcome back. We haven't seen you for a while. Go ahead.
It has been a while, Mr. Chair. Thank you very much. So we are revisiting the application for a land use permit for the Ski and Adventure Club for building lot number 5001 at the top of the plateau. Committee asks staff to provide recommendations for the land use rent and also to deal with the improvements that were on the lot. So we have come up with some further recommendations. So I think everyone's familiar with the file, and if all agree, I'll just jump into the recommendations by staff. So we recommend that Planning and Development Committee recommend that Council approve the land use permit to 20001 to allow the ski club to use a portion of lot 1, Plan 3604 for the storage of 3 sea cans, including the improvements as shown in attachment 5 of appendices 1 for a period of 3 years commencing July 1st, 2020 and terminating June 30th, 2023, with the location as shown in site context map and attachment 3 of appendices number 1 and in accordance with the land use permit conditions outlined in attachment 4 of appendices 1. And we also recommend that council choose the 1.5% land use permit fee equal to $1,288.65 per annum. Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer. You're talking about attachment 1, 2, and 3 items.
Sorry,
Oh,
Chair,
okay.
to the appendices.
Thank you. I need a mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Mayor Bell, seconded by Councilor Arwa. Comments or questions? We've discussed that issue in length at the last meeting, and there was some sort of discussion on the entrance or the building, how it was shaped. Go ahead, Mayor Bill.
Thank you, Councillor Kumlik. I just want to make sure that this was, you guys had a conversation with them, obviously, and this is what's come back following our bylaws. Excellent, thank you.
Yes, we did. They came and met in my office. We did discuss it, and they have been working with the chief building official as we requested.
Thank you. Everybody ready to vote? Okay, all those in favor, raise your hand. Thank you. Unanimous. Moving along. 5C, request for decision land use permit 2006, lot 1, portion of lot 1, lot 3, block 227, trail area pit, Tower Arctic Explosive Magazine. Jennifer.
Thank you again, Mr. Chair. This is again a land use permit application. It is one that has been approved in the past by council and committee. It is for, as it says here, 5 magazines that are stored at the trailhead. It's for Tower Arctic. It's the explosives they use for the deep sea port that they are constructing. They are in process of receiving a explosive license. I did confirm that with NRCan, and I think we'll just jump right to the recommendations by staff. We recommend that council approve land use permit 20006 to allow explosive magazine storage on a portion of lot 1 and lot 3, block 227, Plan 4131 for the period commencing July 1st, 2020 and terminating June 30th, 2021, with the locations as shown on the magazine locations map in attachment 1. And we also would like to direct staff to provide an invoice to the applicant in the amount of $30,327.50 in accordance with the land use permit fee policy. Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer. I think a couple of years ago we discussed that about the safety issues before, but this is something that we need to deal with now. I need a mover and a seconder. Moved by Kyle, Councillor Shepherd, seconded by Deputy Mayor Brewster. All those. Anyone have questions or comments? Mayor Bell.
Thank you, Councillor Kumlik. I'm just wondering, because these have been here for some time now, so we're catching back up on what people have been doing. But does anyone here know what 38,000 kilograms would do if it exploded? Or in the case of the other five that are, or four that are together, almost 100,000 kilograms. Do we know what that would do to any part of our city if it exploded?
I would think it would be a loud bang. I don't think anyone. Jennifer?
I do know that they've followed all the protocols and regulations set out by NRCan, who they hold the explosive license with. So they all have berms in front of them, like big rock shelters sort of idea that's you can see in the photos. But in terms of what an explosion would look like at 1,000 kilograms of explosives, I'm sorry, I don't know.
Because I've been out there quite often. This is a major trail to the cabins. They're not actually rock. It's just a sand pit that they put them in. But that's not only these five. There's also another large group of them that come straight down through the. I don't even know what it's called, but into West 40, North 40. The quarry area. There's a bunch of them all along the thing. Kudlik has a bunch of them. There's a couple other companies that have them too. And I don't know if they've all been permitted or not. I know these ones weren't, and that's why. But they've been there for over a year now. I know that for sure. I mean, I have no real here nor there about it, but I just wonder because if it does explode, we have no need for the Municipal Boundaries Cavern update or verbal thing that I'm gonna have later on. I don't know. Maybe we should find that out. I mean, I'm still gonna vote yes to approve it, but I think we should learn that and then either make a quarry area or a location for them farther outside of the city, so that it's not close to anyone that's living or cabining. Thanks.
Thank you, Mayor Bill. Many years ago, there was a explosive that was let explode from the at the road to nowhere, and it did cause damage to some of the buildings inside the city. One big rock ended up at the Jomie School, and there was a homeowner's roof got hit, and this was a blast from the I think just before the river at the road to nowhere. So we want to be careful from there on. And I just want to bring that up. And I have Councilor Awa. Okay. Anybody else? If not, ready to vote? All those in favor, raise your hands. Thank you. Unanimous. Moving along.
Mr. Chair.
Councillor Kumlik?
Yes, sir. Hi.
The vote was not unanimous.
Oh, sorry, I didn't see that. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 for 4, 4 for, and 1 against. The motion is carried. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 5. Yeah. Thank you for the direction. Moving along. You got that? Okay. We have D, request for decision. DP 2023 variance and survey sketch SK. Lot 12, block 242, Jomie Court, Ronnie McGregor, building 2113. Go ahead. Jennifer?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, this is for a semi-detached building that is being proposed to be constructed in Jomie Court on lot number 12. And the applicant is wanting to subdivide the lot so he can live in one half and sell the other half. So that will require the survey sketch. And in order to accomplish this, he's also requesting a variance to reduce the minimum required interior side yard setbacks from 3 meters to 2 meters, and that's on each side. I can tell you that it meets all of the general plan, it's compliant with the general plan. Reviewed against the lot development standards. It also meets all of the zoning bylaw requirements, minus the variance of the 2 meters from 3 meters for that side yard setback. And I will go right straight into the recommendations that staff recommend that the Planning and Development Committee recommend to Council to approve development permit application DP 20-023 for Plan 4716 Block 242 Lot 12 that should read Jomie Court, my apologies, to allow the development of a 2-story semi-detached building containing 2 dwelling units. Site plan received by the city May 5th, floor plans received May 5th, and elevation plans received May 5th, 2020. Also, that council approved the variance to section 9.6 of the zoning bylaw to reduce the required interior side yard requirements from 3 meters to 2 meters, and that council approved survey sketch SK 20-002 to subdivide lot 12, block 242, Plan 4716 into 2 lots. Thank you.
Moved by, I need a mover and a seconder. Moved by Councillor Shepherd, seconded by Councillor Flaherty. Questions or comments? Mayor Bill?
Thank you, Councillor Kumelik. I'm going to be voting no, specifically because of this regard interior side yard requirements. Most of our properties already don't have big enough spaces to park a boat, anything really. And because of that, I'm going to vote no on this. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Stevenson?
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, John. I struggle with this. We do this a lot where we have lots and then we subdivide them afterwards. For the most part, I don't vote against them because it seems like, as Jennifer just said, they fit everything within our zoning bylaw and they make sense. It bothers me with these Jomie Court lots because they were envisioned, in my mind at least, as like, I don't know what the right word is for them, but that they were going to be large single dwelling lots, and that was because people wanted large single dwelling lots. We come off the mistakes that we made in the plateau, some of which we're learning curve stuff, some of which were just full on long-term repetitive mistakes. But what we learned from that and what we tried to design into, I'm going to forget the name of it, but the Road to Nowhere subdivision that we planned out, we haven't gone forward with, but that we planned out, was that people wanted bigger lots. People didn't want this overcrowding. You didn't want houses that were nearly touching each other. I understand, and every time Nunavut Housing comes here and argues, I understand that we need more housing in this city, and that people are just trying to maximize space benefit. And I certainly don't begrudge any individual wanting to be able to afford his life or her life by subdividing a lot and having one side pay for the other, basically. I don't begrudge it, but that's our job here, is to preserve the city, not just for the immediate but also for the long term. And I think it's important that we have at least some larger sized lots for people who really are willing to pay for and want to have their house on a larger sized lot. And so I agree with the mayor in this case that I don't think this is an appropriate use of the lots in the Jomie Court.
Thank you. Councillor Abba.
Kuya na may isibota ako manik. Tukisibu nga kay iluta ka iluta na wakta na surat iluta nuna mig amuyoro kata. Nuna takay ako. Asin nyo una pikutiga yung naktay mga una piginak. Tayo man nakaitukisibu nuna takay karok sugutan. Tayo man nagput iluat yako mga kuya na mig.
Jennifer, did you want to?
Unfortunately, we're not allowed to directly dispose land to anybody, so it would have to revert back to the city, and then it would go to the next person on the ballot draw list. I believe is how, if somebody was awarded it and wasn't going to use it.
Amy?
Up to a certain point, and then the owner can sell it.
Okay. Kiyowi Solomon?
I think my question was that, for example, myself, we got a lot for our building. When I get a draw, does that mean that I sold my other half of the lot to other person and we share the lot? Is that the way that this is the request?
Yes, that is exactly how this is, Councillor Awa. I might also just point out that there are other semi-detached units that have been applied for and approved in the Jomi Court area. The only reason this one actually had to come before council was because it did have that variance included. Thank you.
I have Kyle first.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The reason this is happening is because our land administration bylaw is garbage. We're powerless to do anything about this, and the new one needs to be put in place as soon as possible. I support development like this. If this individual is actually going to live in one half of this, he might be the only person in that entire court that won a lot that's actually going to live there. So, you know, I would support this development. It's a minor variance. It's going to create 2 housing units in a spot, you know, intended for 1. You know, while our intentions for that space was for homeowners to win, you know, potential homeowners, first-time homeowners to win a lot and build their own home, that's impossible for almost all of Columbia. The costs involved are just absolutely outrageous for the land alone and then for the development of it. You know, that lot, that street is not being developed under the spirit and intent of the ballot draw or the process the city undertook, but it's perfectly legal under the current land administration bylaw. So, you know, I see this as a minor variance. It's going to create 2 housing units, and if that individual is going to actually live there, excellent. And actually, it's probably closer to what we intended than any other development there.
Thank you. Mayor Bill?
Thank you, Councillor Klimek. I'm not against the subdividing of. I don't particularly care that they subdivide. And like Jennifer said, there have been some that are already applied and have been approved. But I am against the variance from 3 meters to 2 meters. 3 meters already isn't enough. I live on a quite big lot, and my immediate neighbor to my right, we are exactly 9 meters apart, right? Which, you know, 9 meters is, you know, not even 9 meters, sorry, 6 meters. I learned how to do math in my head here. 6 meters, which is not very big. You know, and yeah, we're apart right now from that. I'm against the variance for the change, and as we know, a bunch of people already applied and got approved within the rules, and that's why I'm voting no. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Flaherty?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just have a question. So on the first page of the request for decision, so and then the recommendations. So the floor plans are assuming the floor plans that were received on May 5, those floor plans are assuming a variance setback from 3 to 2 meters.
That is
Go ahead.
correct. That is correct. On the site plan.
And what's the difference between the site plan and the floor plan?
The site plan is the first image that you see under plan, and I'm very sorry that it's so small, but at the very top it does show the 2-meter interior side setback right here. So it does show the measurement, but doesn't give you a reference with other buildings or lots, unfortunately.
Okay. Does that answer your question? Thank you. Councillor Stevenson.
Thank you. Jennifer, could you just give me a clarification on what you had said just at the end about other lots? They have been, there will be duplexes, but no other lot would be subdivided without us having involvement in a subdivision. So there's no other lots that in the sort of theme of what Councillor Awa was saying have been cut in half and are being sold to somebody else through, not through the city. They're only that there are multiple dwellings on one lot.
That is correct. I do stand corrected. They are semi-detached with one owner so far.
Right.
They may apply for subdivision at some point in the future, but to get the development permit, they are one owner, 2 dwelling units.
And just to be clear, if they were to apply to subdivide, then it would have to come to council. When there are certain things, that the Department of Planning and Lands can approve without council, and there's certain things that can't. Things that need variances can't. They have to come to council, and certainly subdivision of lots. Thank you.
Thank you. Just one question. The request for decision, you said the applicant met all the requirements.
It met all their requirements except for the variance that was required for that setback.
Okay, doke. Thank you. Ready to vote? Any comments or questions to the motion? Okay. Those in favor, raise your hand. 1, 2. Opposed? 1, 2, 3, 4. Opposed. Motion defeated. We have one interpreter, and I'm gonna ask him if he needs a break for 10. Okay, thank you. We'll continue, he said. Oyinami Andrew. And then there's a 5E, request for decision, survey sketch 2003, lot 3, block 72, 3502, core area, encroachment easement, Webster Company, building 917. Jennifer.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is a survey sketch application to provide an easement for access to parking between building 917 and 903. 917 parking can only be reached by going over the lot that belongs to, to the boundary lines that belongs to 903. So an easement agreement and has already been registered on title. This is sort of tidying up a loose end from a few years ago. The proposed 9 on-site parking spaces cannot be accessed without crossing over Plan 3502, Block 72, Lot 1. As such, a survey identifying the extent of the encroachment easement is required to be executed. An encroachment agreement was signed between the 2 parties in August 2017. The easement plan to be registered on title with Land Titles Office. That will be completed if this is approved. So I will go to the recommendation that staff recommend that the Planning and Development Committee recommend that Council approve survey sketch SK 20-003 to permit the resurvey of Lot 1, Block 7, Plan 3502 to accommodate an encroachment easement as shown in Attachment 2. Thank you.
I need a mover and a seconder. Moved by Councillor Stevenson, seconded by Mayor Bell. Questions or comments? Mayor Bell?
Thank you, Councillor Kumlik. This is for the Aquatic Center parking spot that no one ever uses. I honestly believe that we should look at in the future, even though I'm going to vote yes to this, but I think we should look in the future to selling that lot because no one parks there anyways, and we paid $1.7 million for it. So we could definitely use a pretty big development in that area. So anyways, thank you.
Questions or comments? If not, ready to vote? All those in favor? Unanimous. Thank you. Thank you for Jennifer. Thanks to Jennifer. It's been a while. Please come back next time. Moving along, we have 5F municipal boundary cabins, and it's verbal. And I'll ask Mayor Bell to make the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Kumlik, and thank you, Council. In the interest of time and making this easy, there's many comments, and I think Councillor Shepherd probably has a bunch too. I just want to make a motion to direct staff to looking into leasing municipal land for cabins. Currently, right now, there's no rhyme or reason. QIA is looking at doing the exact same thing, and they're in the middle of their project. I'm sure it's kind of sidetracked because of COVID. But right now, people are just building everywhere, myself included. I built a place on municipal land. I checked with the city planning department prior to building. I checked with the federal government, and they had no idea what was going on. So I went and got HTO's approval to put it where I put it, knowing that it wasn't really their forte, but I still wanted something saying that it was okay to be building a cabin. So I would like to, one, protect my investment, but also protect everyone else's investments, and two, not have cabins popping up behind my house or behind your house or just random places. And there are some popping up within like eyesight of the city, which is not very good. Mine is pretty far away, but it is still on municipal land. But anyways, I want to make that motion that we direct staff to start looking, or recommend to council that we direct staff to start the process of looking into leasing city land to cabin owners.
Thank you, Mayor Bell. Seconded by Councillor Shepherd. Okay. Any questions or comments? Stevenson?
Thank you. And I'm absolutely in favor of this. I'm also, I gather the same will come out of it, but not just the practice of leasing land, but of not leasing land too, of having places that we then decide that we don't want to. I know certainly if you look, say, in the Road to Nowhere area where we are someday still intending to have a subdivision, at the moment somebody could just build a cabin and then it would still be our land, so we might be able to remove them, but it would be ugly. And it would be nice to be able to set off sections and say, no, not here. We have intention for this land and we don't want cabins popping up. I also, and I think you're referring to this, but there's like a cabin in town in Tundra Valley right now. I'm assuming the same thing as the one that you built. There's no real restriction to it, but if I lived there, I'd be quite upset that somebody had built a cabin in the neighborhood, like 20 yards from their property line. Would annoy me, certainly.
Okay. Deputy Mayor Brewster.
Thank you, Councillor Kumalik. One of my big concerns about moving into leasing for cabins is the fact that Iqaluit and Nunavut Inuit in particular have absolutely been shoved out of the housing market here, and the majority of cabins that are built are newly built are built by people with privilege, people who can afford it, people who can afford not just to build, but also the transportation that it takes to go out to cabins. Even tenting can be difficult, and as uh, uh, nearly a lifelong independent woman who raised the majority, like my children, the majority of the time independently, I can say that that it has been an ongoing struggle to afford my home. It is out of my reach currently, and maybe forever, to be able to afford to go and build a cabin. It's even out of my reach to be able to go and set up a tent. And the more barriers we put up for Inuit, for people who have a limited income or limited skills, though I can tell you this, I think build my own cabin. Helping Hands Award 2012, Habitat for Humanity 2013. I can't remember what year it was, but it is, I'm making light of it, but it's a truth that the more barriers we put up to people like me and who are not like me but also have the same barriers, means that we're going to see the resale value of these cabins. I've already seen it. It's not within my means to buy a cabin, even a really old, dilapidated cabin. And I'm worried that as time goes on, that cabins will just be exchanged between transient people who will offload it for a high price, the same way that they offload the housing that they're buying here. Thank you. Sorry for rambling.
Thank you. Any other comments, Kyle?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I view the opportunity to regulate this as an opportunity to maybe put some more progressive policies in place to help with that. We have the opportunity to do things a little bit differently. We can get as creative as we want. If we want to limit resale value, if we want to limit the value of that land, if we want to make it free for certain people, we have the opportunity to do that. We can get creative. So I look at it more as an opportunity to make things better than as a barrier to certain things. So
Thank you. Flaherty?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm wondering if, in a previous agenda item, and this question is to Amy, so the bins that are on order, did you mention that they would be placed in that area where the cabins are going up? I mean, I know the area that it's right to the right of the causeway, right? That area, is it?
Mayor Bill? Or Amy?
Thank you. Yeah, so the there is a city garbage bin at the Causeway fishing area, a certain area that's used for day use. We're looking at a couple of the strategic areas, and one is that area that what we call the Causeway fishing area near the golf course. So as if people were leaving there near that area.
Yeah.
Where those antennas are, near there somewhere.
Sorry, my mic was on the whole time. So you mean because there's when you turn right from the dump, you can go left up, or you can go right past the towers to where.
Yeah, there are kind of I think what I would consider two kind of main areas where people have cabins or tents. So looking at both of those areas. One might have a larger one than the other, so we're still working out those details, but that's one area that's been identified as needing some kind of decent garbage receptacle to deal with a lot of the issues there.
Okay. I fished a lot there, and years back I suggested a garbage bin, but it's only a bear, and I think we need to have a regular pickup. But that's something else. I think Amy pretty much explained it. Does that answer your question? Okay, thank you. I have one question though to your motion. Your motion is just for the within the municipal boundaries, right? I would think so.
Correct. I'm wondering if we should think about a second or a friendly amendment to that motion and make it mandatory that there be no building of new cabins until the city. You okay with that friendly amendment? So we'll do that friendly amendment that from now on there'll be no building on city land until planning has had. Well, I guess it's until council makes the motion, but okay.
Do you agree, Kyle? Okay, so the motion is to ask the staff to explore leasing for building cabins and effective immediately that no cabins are to be built up until such time a plan is put in place
Within municipal boundaries.
within municipal boundaries. Agreeable, Kyle? Okay, any other comments or questions? Mayor Bell?
I just one fast comment. About 70% of mine. It was a higher number, but about 70% of mine has been built by reusing wood, reusing glass, almost everything. So 70% of my whole building has been reused and either scavenged, found, given. I bought some windows off somebody that was doing house renovation, so it can be cheap, but you have to constantly be going at it, and when you're already a busy person, it's hard to do that. And I know that there's barriers, but right now what we need to stop what's going on right now, and we will find ways to go around those barriers as well.
Okay, thank you for the comment. I know some of the cabins are better than social housing, some of them are beautiful. So any other comments or questions to the motion? If not, are you ready to vote? Okay, those in favor, raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Unanimous. Thank you, Mayor Bell. Moving along, I don't think we have Mayor Bell. Oh, no in-camera item. Moved by Mayor Bell to adjourn, seconded by Kyle. All those in favor, say yay. Unanimous. Thank you, Andrew. Bye.